Everybody loves Bluey, right? The show has won our hearts with its charming characters, wonderful life lessons, and that kind of humor that gets both kids and adults laughing. But did you know that Bluey is so popular that it has already been copied by other animated shows? Now let's talk about Chipchilla, the cartoon many people consider to be the American version of Bluey. Released in 2023 for the kids' streaming service, this show caused a lot of buzz because of its several similarities to the Blue Puppies series. In this case, it's actually funny to look at images of both shows side by side and point out everything that looks the same. The story follows Chip, a little chinchilla boy, and his family. They go through fun adventures and learn valuable lessons together. So far, so good. The synopsis is similar, but could still be chalked up to a light dose of inspiration. But the moment you take a quick look at the characters and their house, you notice something. Everything looks way too similar to Bluey. The creators didn't just make a blue main character. They also copied details of the house where our beloved Bluey lives. Chip's house looks absurdly similar to the Healer home. This wasn't just a tiny inspiration, this was practically a photocopy. The problem is that while Bluey is known for its smart humor and meaningful stories that resonate with adults too, Chipchilla doesn't reach the same emotional depth. It feels like a generic version that doesn't do justice to its source of inspiration. You know, when China makes its own version of a famous American show, it's kind of like that. Except here it's the United States copying another country, since Chipchilla is American and Bluey is Australian. Interestingly, Bluey also has roots in another famous show, Peppa Pig. But the difference is that Bluey's creator actually worked on Peppa Pig and managed to take that inspiration to create something even better. Chipchilla, on the other hand, feels stuck in Bluey's shadow without bringing anything truly new to the table. A cheap copy made just to cash in on the success of the Australian pup. Yep, there are plenty of shows out there with art styles super similar to the most famous little blue dog on TV. Some of them are practically shameless copies. So if you're a Bluey fan and love checking out new cartoons, stick around. Today, we're diving into some of these curious rip-offs. Get ready because your mind is about to be blown. If you like cute dogs and fun adventures, you've probably heard of Puppy Dog Pals. This show also has a lot in common with Bluey, but here the dogs are more realistic. They walk on all fours, they have human owners, and of course, they talk to each other. Okay, maybe that last part isn't that realistic, haha. The dynamic between the main characters strongly resembles the relationship between Bluey and Bingo. It's interesting how the two Puppy Dog Pals protagonists are siblings who share a deep bond and go on many adventures together, something that feels very characteristic of the Australian series. But the funniest, and maybe most suspicious detail, one of the Puppy Dog Pals characters is also named Bingo. The difference is in their personalities. Puppy Dog Pal's Bingo is more mature, while Bluey's Bingo has that adorable, pure-hearted, and childish charm we all love. Are the creators of Puppy Dog Pals secretly Bluey fans? We can't deny how intriguing the similarities are. Drop your opinion in the comments and tell us which one of these cartoons has caught your attention the most so far. If you thought you'd seen everything in the world of animation, get ready to discover Chip and Potato, released in 2018. Just like Bluey, this show follows the everyday life of a cute little dog. But this time, it's a bulldog girl named Chip. She goes to school, plays with friends, and learns important lessons along the way. The coincidences definitely don't stop there. Chip's family dynamic has a lot in common with the Healers. The difference is that Chip has two sisters and is the middle child, while Bluey only has one little sister. Interestingly, Chili, Bluey's mom, has a dark past in the series that involves a baby she lost before birth. That baby came before Bluey, which means that if he hadn't passed away, Bluey would also be the middle sister. Was this just a coincidence, or did the creators of Chip and Potato throw in a subtle reference that only the biggest Brisbane pup fans would catch? Another fun detail is that Chip is always accompanied by Potato, a little mouse who is both her best friend and her stuffy. Now imagine if Bluey and Bingo had a pet mouse instead of playing with caterpillars or birds. That would definitely create a very different dynamic, right? So while Chip and Potato doesn't quite reach Bluey's emotional depth, we can't deny it's still a pretty charming show. But the big question remains, inspiration or coincidence? I'll be nice here and say that all these similarities are just harmless inspiration. Pikwik Pack is a show that premiered in 2020, and it definitely has some noticeable similarities to Bluey. The story focuses on a group of colorful animal friends who team up to deliver packages. At least the idea is a bit different from the family routine and life lessons we often see with the Healers in Bluey. But what really grabs attention is Axel, a raccoon who looks like he stepped right out of Bluey's universe. The character has a blue body, a lighter colored belly, and dark fur on his face that forms a mask. All of that reminds us a lot of our favorite blue pup Bluey. Even though he's a raccoon and not a dog, it's easy to imagine that if we changed Axel's tail shape a little, he could totally pass as a long-lost member of the Healer family. With all these similarities, can we really say that Pikwik Pack wasn't inspired by Bluey? Seems a bit suspicious, right? Now's the time to do the right thing. So go ahead and click the subscribe button below and give us that extra support so we can keep making awesome videos like this one. If you're thinking, a talking panda who walks around, isn't that just a Kung Fu Panda knockoff? Not Bluey. Hold on. Even though Sereno the Zen Panda features a panda as the main character, his path is much more peaceful and reflective than Poe's action-packed adventures. The series is based on 2005 books and tells the story of Sereno, a calm and wise panda who spends his days teaching important lessons to a group of kids while sharing everyday moments with them. It's impossible not to think of Bluey when you see how the show deals with daily life challenges and emotional learning in such a heartfelt, educational way. But like we just said, Sereno comes from books published in 2005. Since Bluey only came to life in 2018, there's no way this could be plagiarism, right? Well, interestingly, the same thing happened with Olivia Pig. Even though the books are much older, she only got an animated adaptation after Peppa Pig became a huge hit, and Peppa clearly drank from that same well. In a similar way, Bluey's success seems to have revived interest in Sereno's books, leading to the animated adaptation in 2020. Could Bluey's creator have been inspired by Sereno's books? If that's the case, we could call this a double inspiration. Sereno inspired Bluey, and then Bluey inspired the creation of Sereno's cartoon adaptation. But no matter what, one thing is certain. The Zen Panda animation is a great example of how to use a successful formula to create something equally charming. If you're looking for a totally different concept, T.O.T.S might seem unique at first. The series, which debuted in 2019, follows a penguin whose job is to deliver baby animals to their new families. Even with such a unique premise, the connection to Bluey becomes clear when you notice how T.O.T.S handles sensitive topics in a way that even little kids can understand. The main theme here is adoption, and the show explores it in a way that both parents and children can learn from and enjoy together. The adventures of the main character, facing the challenges of traveling with babies everywhere, also bring humor and reflection that really resemble the lighthearted and educational vibe of Bluey. After all, Bluey has some pretty similar moments when we see Bandit and Chili trying to teach their daughters. Unfortunately, the show ended in 2022, which makes us wonder how far it could have gone if it had more time to grow. Who knows? Maybe it could have even surpassed the show that seems to have inspired it. Now it's time to talk about Elinor, the Curious One, a 2020 animated series that may look like an alternative version of Bluey, but at the same time has its own unique qualities. Something that some shows inspired a little too much by Bluey should definitely have. Right, Chipchilla. The show revolves around Elinor, a bunny who, as her name suggests, is extremely curious and loves learning about the world around her. Just like Bluey, Elinor also learns valuable life lessons alongside her friends. However, this cartoon has a special focus on exploring nature and the environment, which gives the series a very unique touch. Despite all the comparisons, Elinor, the Curious One, manages to shine on its own. It's a great alternative for those who have already watched every episode of Bluey and are looking for something similar in tone and message, but with a slightly different theme. And let's be honest, watching Elinor explore the world is just as charming as following Bluey and her adventures. Of course, the show still can't surpass its inspiration, but maybe we'll see Elinor become a strong competitor in the near future. What do you think? And now, speaking of something a bit different, but still similar to Bluey in certain ways, we have Penguinho. This series was released in 2019 by Crianças Inteligentes, the new name of the famous and infamous company Video. If you've never heard of them, the Brazilian company Video Brinquedo became known for releasing low-quality knockoffs of big movie and TV hits. But in 2012, the company changed its focus and started creating educational content. And that's exactly where Penguinho comes in. The show tells the story of a drop of water named Penguinho, who lives up in the clouds and teaches kids how the water cycle works. Besides that, the series tackles important topics that are often ignored by other children's shows, such as pollution and the life of orphans, since Penguinho doesn't have a family and was raised in space. Although it's not a blatant copy, it's clear that Penguinho tries to borrow some elements that made Bluey such a hit, like the humor and the educational messages. Even so, the show has its own style and manages to stand out as a solid option for anyone looking for something that not only entertains but also teaches. Since we know you love videos full of references, details, and Easter eggs, we're leaving 2 really cool ones so you can stay right here with us. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.